Welcome to the Orange Hammer Podcast. My name is Corbett Storick. I've been a licensed general contractor for 8+ years, specializing in new construction, renovation, furniture building. I'm the son of an architect and an interior designer, and I've been surrounded in this industry since birth, watching all aspects from concept, design, build, punch list, and of course, all the problems that come up in between. In my time in Durham, North Carolina, I've noticed a significant gap in knowledge between homeowners who need work and the people who do the work. On this podcast, I hope to break down the process of homeownership from the perspective of both the homeowner and the contractor in an effort to help raise the knowledge of homeowners about their homes and the construction/renovation process. I hope you enjoy. If you're enjoying the Orange Hammer Podcast, or if you have a topic that you want covered, or have recently done a project, please contact the Orange Hammer Podcast. The Orange Hammer Podcast is on Instagram and Facebook. Please like and subscribe, share on whatever platform you're enjoying your podcast on. Also, check out our YouTube channel, The Orange Hammer. The Orange Hammer Podcast is proud to be brought to you by CRS Contracting LLC for all your construction and handyman needs, new buildings to renovations, furniture building, EV charger install, or even a TV mounted. You can call me, Corbett Storick. It'd be my pleasure to help you. You can find me on Instagram at CRS Contracting. WSDG, the Walter Storick Design Group, specialists in architectural and acoustical consulting. Check out WSDG.com. And Taylor Bragg, for all your artistic needs in all mediums. You can find her on Instagram at brag_about_art. That's brag, BRGG, with 2 G's. She's the fantastic artist behind the Orange Hammer logo, and she did my fantastic table painting of my podcasting table. My guest today is Justin Ligon, a licensed general contractor like myself, working at Ellard Capital as the construction manager. He's an Army vet, a father, a homeowner, and a property manager, as well as an avid barbecue lover. Justin, thanks for coming on the podcast. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
It's been quite a minute since we've caught up.
Yeah, been a few years.
Yeah, so we met, it's probably almost 7 or maybe 8 years ago, I think.
Sounds right.
Yeah. So Stacy Sloan, who's actually been a guest on the podcast, I think
Stacy's been on great.
Yeah, she's been on.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, she did great actually. She had a lot of fun, and I plan on having her back. But yeah, like I think you hit her up and you were like, I just need like another set of hands or something like that. I know you were working on a house. I ended up putting in doors and doorknobs and stuff.
I literally needed another set of hands because I had had an accident with the saw and I cut my left hand up pretty good, and so I had a house I was flipping. And
no, this was before that.
Was it?
Yeah, because I remember when you hurt your hand and you met me at a different house. See, this house, this is even before that. And you were still because I remember you were just like tiling the shower floor. You were putting in the pan yourself, and then we had to replace like a rotted 2x8 outside of this sliding door. And then you had me backsplashing tile, and you had me re-hanging doors that you had painted. It was a brick house. You painted the outside of the brick.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember which. I had so many going on at that time.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's jump in. So, I mean, I mentioned you're a licensed general contractor. At the time, you were similar to me, but where I keep them, you were flipping them.
Yeah.
You were buying houses to flip them pretty much as quick as humanly possible.
Yeah, I was. I did keep a few houses as as rentals, but like majority of them, was fix and flip, fix them up, back in the market. So let's just back up a tiny little bit. How do you get into that? Are you handy like with your dad? Does he do that? Or Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I guess it started like, as far as how did I get into construction, and it would have been my dad, as a kid, just always helping out around the house. And, probably by, age 16, I was, running a chainsaw, cutting down trees in the backyard and, building stuff. And so, that's kind of where I got, first interested. And then, career wise, I started out after college. I was in property management, so I was managing apartments, but was just this was not a good fit. I was miserable. So
managing apartments, you were miserable.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I wasn't enjoying that. So, but I knew I liked construction. I liked real estate. So, pretty much just kind of made the jump. I knew some just from growing up and from, working on my own house. And so, kind of my house live in now, and I've been there for 12 years, is kind of, the learning lab, I guess, for some of the carpentry and stuff.
Gotcha. So, okay. So before you jump out on your own, you're already a homeowner.
Correct.
And you've done quite a bit of work on your home.
Oh, yeah, extensive. The house I purchased was definitely a fixer-upper for sure.
Gotcha. And so what kind of work did you do, and did you do it all yourself?
Quite a bit of it. Most of it myself, yeah. So a lot of, some doors, some trim, a lot of flooring, a lot of tile, did some electrical, mostly light electrical with lights.
So you could say like the bones were really solid and you wanted to give it like that facelift.
Yep.
Yeah, like paint, floors, trim. Yep. Yeah, gotcha. So with not a lot of experience other than just like growing up with a handy dad on some land and doing projects and stuff, you're just like, I could just tackle this house. I mean, did you own tools at that point? Or did you buy them for the projects at that house as they arose?
Yeah, a lot of the tools I was buying them as I needed them. So, and then I occasionally would borrow something, from a dad or whatever if I needed. But
this is local in the NC.
Yeah, this is in Durham.
This is in Durham. Gotcha. Yep. And are you from Durham originally?
No, I grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay,
but I've been in this area since I guess about 2008. So lived in Chapel Hill for a little bit, and then been in Durham since 2010.
Gotcha. So you've been here at least a long enough while that you had like a little bit of a friend circle where you could be like, I don't want to buy a tile saw. Could you help a brother out?
Yeah,
you had a friend who, yeah, gotcha. I mean it's been a recurring concept on this podcast of just like network, like whether it's industry or friends or both, like who you know and who can help you out is a huge thing for sure. I mean, that's how we meet, literally.
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
Stacy's become a great friend and has helped us buy almost all of our, rental properties. And so you buy a house, you get, you do a lot of trial and error and buying tools, and you gain skills through trial and error and practice. And then in that, on the other side of that Venn diagram of the professional circle, you then move and go branch out on your own. And what's like the first steps on that? Do you immediately look for a house to buy? Do you immediately start studying for your license?
So main thing, I guess, is finding that first project. And so that was ultimately what, kind of made, gave me the courage to make that jump, is having something in the works. So, once I had my first house under contract that I was planning to flip, that's when
the first one to flip, not the one that you lived in.
Yeah, correct. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you find a house long before you think about license or anything like that. You're just like, let's go find a house.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I actually, did the first few flips I did were pretty, fairly light as far as the renovation. We weren't into permit territory, but
so as just like facelift similar.
Oh yeah.
Paint,
maybe new countertops, some new fixtures, things like that.
Nothing you need a permit for. Nothing that's that hard. Yeah. No, like blowing out a wall or building a new deck or anything like that.
So, but as I went on and did more houses, got more confident, and realized very quickly that I'm gonna have to start pulling permits. And I was at that point I was GC and everything as far as the role, but just didn't have the license.
And as a homeowner, you weren't actually not doing anything wrong, because you can really GC it as a homeowner. Absolutely. And you had at least you had the money and the confidence, and it's your home, so you can kind of do whatever you want, basically. So when is it not enough profit where you start going, man, I need to buy a crappier house and like do more work to it? Or do you just think it would be more fun? Like what is or is it just the natural progression, like when you're in the construction world?
I think it's just a natural progression.
Gotcha.
As I, did more houses and just got more aggressive. And, also, at the time when I was really doing this, this was back in, 2013, 14, 15, 16, the still a lot of inventory, a lot of foreclosures and stuff. But you know, if I could tackle bigger, more challenging projects, you know, it was easier to make, you know, to get that deal. I was doing a lot of houses with a lot of structural and foundation issues that were scaring off your average investor, I think. So
yeah, that's definitely a huge thing that scares people for sure.
Oh yeah. So, you know, as long as you know, make sure you know, bring in the right professionals, you know, work with a good engineer, have a really good plan, you know, it's not quite so scary. But you know, just, you know, as just going along, you know, go along, just looking for, you know, more and more challenges. And, you know, before I would look at something and be like, you know, oh, well, we can paint this, we can change that light fixture, you know, and just progresses to, oh, like this wall doesn't need to be here, or, you know, we could add this room here, or, you know, this kitchen design is really inefficient.
Wouldn't this be better with another bathroom? Yeah,
exactly. So I think you just, you know, start looking and, for more and more things to do. And so, yeah, as it went along, yeah, definitely the projects just kind of got bigger and a little more involved, a little longer, a little more expensive too.
Yeah,
but
definitely. And you mentioned foreclosure. Was that your main way of finding your properties?
I found them through all kinds of sources. So I definitely did like a short sale or two, did foreclosures.
Could you just, for listeners who might not know, detail what a short sale is?
So, yeah, so short sales, that was a real big thing, you know, back after the 2008, 2009 housing crisis. But essentially people were underwater on their mortgage, and then they would negotiate with the bank to basically, you know, turn the house over to the bank, and, you know, for, you know, less than it was worth essentially. But basically, you know, they would go to the bank and agree to, you know, basically the bank was saying, yeah, you could sell it at a loss so we can take it back, you know, or get it off our books essentially.
So it's like almost a foreclosure auction, but one step above the humiliation.
Yeah, pretty much.
Gotcha.
So,
not to put like a harsh term on it, but I mean, that's, to me, it sounds basically the same thing. You just, you do it before the bank actually just takes it.
Correct. Yeah. And it's just kind of saves the bank time, saves, you know, might salvage, you know, the homeowner's credit by doing that.
Okay. So helping the credit a little bit for sure.
But yeah, so I did, some foreclosures, some short sales.
And you worked with Stacy, obviously.
Yep. Yeah. So I bought from wholesalers, you know, some just regular houses on the MLS. I did some marketing too, like sending letters in the mail.
Oh yeah. What kind of, so other letters in the mail, any other kind of marketing?
Did letters in the mail, and did also in my neighborhood I lived in actually has the HOA sent out a newsletter, and you could pay to have like a flyer or something put in there.
Oh, okay.
And it was not very expensive, and I did that, and I ended up buying several and flipping several houses in my neighborhood just off, you know, that flyer. So
really, okay.
So that ended up being a really good source of houses, and it was great because in my neighborhood, so I didn't have much of a commute.
It's the only positive thing I've ever heard when referencing an HOA in my entire life. So when I do my HOAs, the Devil podcast, I'll have to be like, but there was this one time my boy Justin told me about, and that'll be the 199 to the 1%, you know, ratio of all terrible stories I have about HOA. That's crazy. Yeah. I mean, that's awesome though, that like, you know, that little flyer ended up actually producing some business. Did the mail flyers you mentioned, like, did they produce? Did they work out well?
They did. I mean, I think I ended up with maybe one house off the mailing campaign. But yeah,
do you pick just like a neighborhood, or do you mail to specific houses that you find on the MLS? Or
so you can pretty much get any kind of information you want as far as building like who your mailing list is. So there's a lot of, you know, people that real estate investors will send letters to, like, you know, for instance, like out of state owners, you know, that's something easy to look up. So somebody's not living there, they're renting it, or they've already moved. So you can do that. You can pre-foreclosure, you know, something where you can, you know, if somebody's already in that foreclosure process, you know, they're going to be motivated to sell.
So you used a third party of some kind to create your specific mailing list that was unique to the parameters that were for what you were specifically looking. So you didn't just go send it to North Durham and just like send out 10.
No, it was fairly targeted. So.
Gotcha. Okay. Wow. Well, that's pretty cool. So we progress naturally. What gets you out of it? What changes you from just like doing this house flipping thing to the job progression in the last couple of years?
Yeah, so the grass is always greener, I think, and so
is it?
Maybe, I don't know. So I mean, I had a blast doing it for 4 or 5 years. I kind of got at it two big reasons. One was just the market was changing, and had a lot of trouble. The margins just got tighter and tighter, on the projects, and this was like really at the height of the HGTV house flipping craze, and like suddenly, everyone wanted to do it, and so it got hard competing with people who were very happy to lose money on these jobs. I would track like houses that I didn't get and look at what, okay, this is what the person flipped it for. Here's what they did. This is what it would cost. And it's like they lost money on this, like, and
really?
So, yeah, I've seen a lot of those. So it's,
I feel like I'm cutting you off, so I apologize, but I just have to ask, like, do you know, and or are you curious? Like, does that company just have so many projects going on that they're happy to lose out on that house, or does that company go out of business? Like, I don't understand how you could do this and just lose money.
Most of those, when I was seeing it, like best I could find, it wasn't a big company. It was someone who was like their first or their second.
Oh, so it was probably a screw up. Is
yes.
Really what happened. Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah, and so I think that was.
Once you're 60% into the job and you're like, well, they want a more expensive tub or whatever.
Yeah. So it just got challenging to find deals. And then also, my wife and I, we're starting a family. So my wife is pregnant. And so, that definitely was the house flipping. There was definitely some risk. The income wasn't very consistent. So,
right. Yeah, it can be a nice payday, but then it also could take 8 months, or
exactly.
You rip into the floor and it's rotten, and then
So, and I had scaled probably faster than I should have, and I was really like stretching myself thin, both on like finances and time, and so, ended up finding a job with a apartment company, doing a apartment ownership company, doing a project manager, overseeing a big apartment renovation project. It was really close, and so decided like, well, this is what I should do for the family. I think I'm gonna take a break from the house flipping for a little bit. So.
Gotcha. And that was that big apartment complex where you were basically like GCing it, where I think I like actually interviewed at one point.
Yeah. We were
Gotcha.
It was a $11 million renovation project. We were doing roofs and exterior paint. All the units had to be renovated. Big clubhouse renovation. So,
and you were the GC, and they wanted me to be your assistant. And you're wondering, listeners, that sounds too good to be true. Well, guess what? I never even got the job, and I believe you lasted. Was it 8 months? 4 months? 6 months.
I was there about 6 months.
6 months.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
So
well, I needed an assistant, and they had asked me like, well, who do you know that's in construction that knows, what they're doing? And like, I know just the guy.
Yeah.
So,
and I didn't take that job for reasons we're not going to get into on the air, and
it was a good choice because I was like, after you interviewed, I mean, probably 3 months after that, I'd quit and moved on. So
there you go,
working a insane amount of hours with no end in sight
and no extra compensation, from what I understand. Like you were basically a salaried employee, but working like full overtime with no compensation or whatever. They were just like, this is what the job requires because we have a deadline to get these
pretty much
10,000 apartments renovated.
And I had a new baby at home, and I just never got to see my son, and it's like, okay, I gotta find something else.
So you leave there and go do what?
So from there, I was with a general contractor. Do you want to give names, or?
I mean, if you don't mind and I don't mind, if they don't mind,
So I was with a company called First Choice Construction. So they're a full service general contractor specializing in.
Especially if they did well, shout out or not. I mean, we can bash them right now. It's up to you.
No, it was a great company to work for. But we did multifamily renovation work. So, which I should mention too, I have that background kind of on the management side,
right?
And just kind of had leveraged that, and then my time as a GC and with renovating houses to renovating apartments. So
I mean, it is a legitimate lethal combination. I mean, you understand the management of apartments. That is a legitimate factor when you're talking about how do we schedule the construction of apartments as well in the time frame of when people are moving out and when people are moving in. I mean, that's a legitimate skill that you would bring to the table that somebody like me, I mean, I understand it conceptually, but I did not work in apartment management. So it makes sense. It doesn't seem like you really leveraged it. That seems legit.
Yeah. So it just made sense to, I knew the industry, in addition to knowing some of the construction side of things. So, and that was great. I was overseeing, about a 5 to 6 man team of project managers and assistant project managers. And, we worked for, pretty much any of the really big apartment companies in the area. We worked for almost all of them. We were doing roofs, interior renovations. We did a lot of like clubhouse renovations. So we got into a lot of like really kind of unique commercial type upfits on these, big fancy clubhouses and amenity areas.
So I'm pretty sure you just answered the question I was about to ask, which was, even though this is technically residential that people live in it is still construction wise considered commercial.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. I'm pretty sure. That's kind of what I was thinking as you said that.
It's a little bit of both, to be honest. I mean, it's technically commercial construction, and like for your, public spaces and like your clubhouse, or especially if you're in more of a high rise type setting, it's more commercial. But, the nuts and bolts of it, especially on the apartment interiors, it's really no different than what you would, renovating an apartment's really not all that different than renovating a house. So.
Yeah, I mean, ripping out a kitchen cabinet and putting in a kitchen cabinet, whether it's in an apartment or whether it's in a house, is just how many extra steps are we going to bring those cabinets up to the third floor apartment? But it's still, I mean, you screw it to the stud and you level it. I mean, it doesn't change.
Exactly.
Yeah, and trim is trim and so on and so forth. Yeah, gotcha. And so, I mean, that sounds like it was going well. Did that? Or if you don't want to talk about why it ended, that's fine. Where do you go from there?
No, that's fine. Yeah. I mean, long story short, the company was changing and went through an reorganization. So, my position was pretty much eliminated.
Oh yeah, didn't you say that it wasn't even really you? That it's simply like 2 or 3 positions were basically merged into one.
Correct.
Given to your boss as you should have gotten it.
Yeah. So there was really one position for 2 people, and the guy who'd been there 5 years longer than me got it, and which he should have. So.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
So it was fine. I think at that point I was kind of ready to move on. So
I think I'm going to edit that out and just put in. So you got fired. Yeah. I think that's easier. No, I'm just kidding.
Sure.
Editor, can you do that real quick?
So, but. I think at that point I was ready for a change. I was, looking for something different, and, so ended up, I wasn't happy there, I think, anymore. And, I think, some of the people that worked there could realize that too. But, so I was let go, but that was, the timing was unfortunate, because this was like in early February of 2020.
Oh, so we're just getting into it.
So COVID hadn't hit yet. And so I was interviewing, that was going well. I'd interviewed with several companies. I had second round interviews lined up, and then the COVID, bombshell hit.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, like, one by one, everybody I was talking to was, like, well, we don't know what's happening. Now's not the time to hire, which is completely understandable. Everything was getting shut down. So. Yeah. So then it was pretty uncertain. So
what did you actually do?
I built a deck.
You built a deck?
Yes.
Okay.
That was my COVID project.
Yeah.
So
I also did quite a few COVID home renovations. Now that I think about it, I think I redid both my bathrooms.
Yeah. So it was a big project. I ended up having to replace like most of the rim band on the house at that location where the old deck was, and I had to jackhammer out a old concrete and brick staircase to. It was a big. This project,
is not a weekend.
So. This was probably about 3 weeks, about 3.5 weeks straight. So
man,
it was not something I could have done. Working an 8 to 5. So I guess. got a great deck. Thanks,
go.
COVID.
Thanks, COVID. There you go. Hey, I got
the one good thing that came out of it. So.
I got 2 great bathrooms because my like social circle of friends were like, okay, well, we're in a safe social circle and we're not going to work either. I was like, cool, you guys want to come help me tile? I actually got people who were like, sure, can you teach us how? I was like, oh yeah, I'll teach you how. I have them like spreading grout, doing all the like grunt work that's not fun at all, mixing mortar, but I got it done. So thanks, COVID. And okay, so joking aside, where are you now?
So currently I'm with a company called Eller Capital. So it's an apartment ownership group based out of Chapel Hill.
Gotcha. Despite its name, they don't do capital stuff. They don't do mortgages.
Well, they do buy apartments. So I guess there's that. But we have about 13, 14 properties in North and South Carolina. So I help anytime I work with the acquisitions team to help develop kind of a renovation plan and develop a budget, and then once we purchase a property, I'm basically in charge of executing that renovation plan. So,
and these are for, when you say a property, you mean like a whole complex with like hundreds of units.
Yeah, probably our average size, project is an apartment community with 200 to 300 unit range. So,
and are you guys acquiring, upfitting, and also in the apartment like industry, or are you just the flipper to another company who manages apartments?
Yeah, so we have all our own management in house. So typically, we purchase a property, and then the hold period kind of depends, but most of the properties we're holding 5 years. 5 to 7 years is a typical hold time. So
gotcha. And then you just put it on the market and hopefully have made some money as well as a couple of years worth of rent.
Yep.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. So the last thing that I really wanted to talk about was the investment property that I think you're just doing on your own.
Yeah.
Because when we first linked up, you were very much just like homes, single family, residential.
That's right.
Like buy, minimal, flip. I mean, I remember one of the last ones you did, it needed a permit just for like taking out one tiny load bearing wall. And that was like a huge step up from what was going on. And then all of a sudden I hear that you've got like, I don't want to misspeak, but you said it was 6 or 8 units.
Yeah. I bought a 8-unit apartment building in Sanford, North Carolina. So
gotcha. How does that come about? I mean, walk me through the beginning. I mean, I mean, before you're even looking, would you wake up one day and go, I want to start managing people? Like, I don't have enough stress in my life. I want to manage late rent.
Well, that's the thing. I don't actually manage it, and that's one of the nice things. Is like when you're doing those kind of larger properties, you almost have to. I could manage it myself. I've got the experience too, but man, would I probably hate life trying to do that. In fact, I always manage my single family homes. I do have one single family rental. I still have.
Okay, and you do manage that. Solo.
Yeah, and I do, and that's what I've always done. But like it's a lot of work to manage a big portfolio, or even a small one, depending on the residents. So.
That single family home that you mentioned, do you hunt for the tenants yourself as well? So
on that one, I have a partner on that one who's a real estate agent, and so we've got a pretty good
division of labor. It sounds
exactly.
Like gotcha.
So he basically handles finding tenants, getting it leased, and then once they move in, I basically handle rent collection, maintenance. Repairs, maintenance, all that. So it works out well.
Gotcha. Okay. So back to the 8-unit apartment building in Sanford. So what happened when so if you're not managing it, you're just waking up thinking about an investment, I assume?
Yeah. And so, just as far as I wanted to get back into, the real estate side of things, and, just to, as I said, I've got, pretty much in the last 17 years of my career, I've been in either property management and multifamily renovation or kind of real estate entrepreneur. So like it was just a natural thing. Like, okay, I'm ready to go and, instead of just fixing up apartments for
not to mention the construction work that you know how to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just was a natural progression, I think. And, Yeah, I knew for a while that I wanted to move that way, but kind of was like, well, I'll start with single family and work my way up. So, but eventually decided, the best way to scale, especially as far as developing passive income, was going to be, to go more towards the commercial multifamily route, and that was going to make more sense than trying to build like a big portfolio of like single family homes.
God, way to just call me out of exactly what I'm trying to do. Whew, man. All right, Mom, Dad, we got to talk.
Different, same end game, just different way to get there.
For sure. Same end game is like, how is the family taken care of? That's usually the same end game. Yeah. So when you decide that, okay, I want to get into the commercial side, do you call somebody like Stacy? Or do you have a different person when it comes to Sanford, even a different person when it comes to commercial?
Yeah. So, I do have talked to like a number of like commercial brokers. So, and talking to some now and, just making offers and, already working on the next, trying to get the next one. But for that one, actually, I decided to do a mailing campaign, a letter writing campaign.
There
so
you go.
Ended up, targeting a few different markets, sending some letters out, and eventually found someone with this 8 unit. They had owned it for at least 10 or 12 years, and starting to look towards retirement, and looking to liquidate it. And this was also in 2021, so there was all the rent moratoriums and rental freezes and all the COVID craziness, and so I think a lot of owners were feeling kind of burned out from having dealing with that.
Yeah.
So,
how do I get rid of the headache? Yeah,
exactly.
And so when you buy this building, we can detail it if it was abnormal, but was the sale relatively normal? The purchase rather?
Yeah,
closing money, inspections, nothing crazy.
Went pretty smoothly. I ended up bringing in a partner on this one, just a friend of mine who's done a little bit of multifamily investing. He has a few triplexes, and was looking for a capital partner and to help with the cost. And we bought it together and worked well together on it. And he's a bit of a construction guy himself, so it was a good fit.
Nice. Are you continuing your partnership as you look for the next one?
Yeah, we've actually made some offers, kind of jointly on some other projects. But
nice.
I've got a few different folks I'm looking to partner with, and always looking for more too. So I'm trying to. Yeah, I'm very used to working, and renovating very large buildings, and so I'm starting to get a little more aggressive as far as the size of projects I want to take on. So.
Gotcha. So when you buy this 8 unit, are any of them rented?
So when we bought it, it was 7 of the 8 were rented.
Okay.
By the time we closed, 2 more people had moved out, so there were only 5.
What
rented,
kind of time frame are we talking about?
So once I had it under contract when we closed, it was about 60 days. So
okay, so 2-ish months, and 2 people leave just kind of by their own accord, or is there's like issues, or are they just leases?
No, they had their lease was up and they had left, and the owner had offered, to, technically contractually they're supposed to have somebody in the units, and they said, yeah, we'll rent it. We told them no, like,
right, you don't want it.
These units were, the owner had been, doing maintenance on them, but still, these were, the building was, early 70s or early mid 70s product, and it had not been renovated or upgraded, so it was pretty rough on the inside.
Gotcha. So it's like it's a working and functional, but it's not nice.
No, so gotcha. It needed a lot of work, and our business plan was involved pretty much a full renovation on the interiors. So
you just like got them to the studs?
To the sheetrock.
To the sheetrock,
pretty much. So, but so we were happy when we closed that we had 3 units to work in right away. So.
Right, so you could just go to work on those 3 and not even worry about the other 5. And so did you in fact do that? Like, did you do those 3 first, and kind of as you were finishing, people moved out?
Yeah, so we started our first 3, and in about a month and a half after we bought it, there were two of the residents put in their notices to leave.
So the stars kept aligning.
So yeah, they were together, and so then we had 5 units, and these 2 came along, right as we had kind of finished those first 3, and those were leasing really well, so we knew we knew the renovations, we were getting the return we were hoping for,
nice.
Actually beating that. So, and then we had 3. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you mean on the 3 new renovated ones, like your new rents were you're very happy.
Yeah, we pretty much doubled the rent on those units. So
double what your projection were, or double what it was?
Double what it was.
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
I think so. Average rent on those units was like about $475 a unit.
Okay,
and they're very basic. 2-bedroom, 1 bath. Real small kitchen. So we were average
it's a
rent.
Small apartment in Sanford. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, so it was like $475. I think was what we were getting. What the previous owner was getting. We were hoping to get about $650, $700 a unit, but we had no problem leasing them for $800 a piece. So.
Nice, nicely done.
So we we did them. We ended up having and then we kind of were left with 3 tenants, and they were actually worked out. They were the 3 best tenants that had been in the whole place. And then 2 of them, we actually were able to transfer them to a renovated unit. So they
awesome.
So we threw some free rent their way, but they went. We were able to keep them. They went to the market rent, the higher rent.
Wow.
So
you got people living with you to go from a shitty apartment to basically double rent with like, hey, we'll give you a month or 2 for free.
Yep, exactly.
And just move across the hall, basically in air quotes, and double the rent. And you said 2 different tenants to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That could not work out any better if you like drew this up on a whiteboard.
Yeah.
Of like a plan. Like, okay, coach, this is the plan. Like that's amazing.
So that worked out well. We ended up with 1 resident, and they were on a month-to-month lease, and we ended up giving them like a 3 or 4 month notice. Like, hey, we, sorry, but we really want to renovate this unit while we've, got our contractor around. The last one.
Yeah,
so,
gotcha.
So we ended up non-renewing them, but
still 4 months. I mean, that's very polite as a landlord, not required at all. I mean, that's like very nice.
Yeah. So we try not to, and we were hoping to keep them as well, but it just didn't work out. But, and that was, and we finished that last unit back in January. So we closed in May of, I guess it would have been May of 2021, and fully renovated all 8 units by January 22. So
gotcha. So these renovations were basically, flooring, cabinets, countertops, probably appliances, and some new trim and paint.
You got it. Yep.
Yeah. So
exactly.
So as far as like, especially when that, the floors are level already, it's a giant apartment building. You don't have to like jack up the foundation. That's a relatively, a quick renovation, especially when you go, okay, well, we can just order 8 apartments worth of material and put it in a shed and grab, an eighth of the flooring, and then do the next apartment or whatever, assuming you made them all the same.
Yeah, that was important. We wanted to keep them all very consistent, use the same materials. Yeah. So, but yeah, it was pretty standard renovation. Yeah. I mean, all new, new LVP flooring, new paint, we did new kitchen, so all new cabinets, just laminate countertop.
Really didn't even have to put in the stone, and you still were able to double your rent.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. So
nice.
new appliances. Light package, new hardware package.
Yeah.
And
did you go like all the way with stainless, or just like some standard white or black appliances?
We just stuck with black.
Just black. Gotcha. Wow. So you didn't even have to like do some of those really like extra, that black and that chrome could be $150 difference. That adds up. 5 appliances times 8 units. Yeah. Adds up pretty quick. That's nice. You didn't even have to do that.
Yeah. I think we just kind of, timed it well, as the triangle and Raleigh and Durham and Cary and Chapel Hill are growing and getting very, very expensive. People are looking for more, affordable markets. And so
people are willing to trade that commute.
Yeah, exactly. And people don't mind, driving 30, 45 minutes, so, I think, we're seeing a lot of people, that's, people are moving and looking farther out, and that's pushing up those, the rent and a lot of those, these communities, surrounding, the triangle as well right now.
So you mentioned very cleverly, I might add, in the beginning, that you don't manage it. Now that you've done the renovation, you have 8 great tenants. Is there like a local office? Is there just like a digital person that they contact?
Yeah. So we hired a local property manager. So we talked to a few different property management firms, and we ended up finding one, that we liked. And, so there's a property management company, they take, they collect a fee, a percentage of the rent, but they handle, any, collecting the rent, they handle any resident complaints, any maintenance issues, they take care of. So
you are strictly a hands-off owner.
Yep.
They do everything.
Yeah. We'll still have to, they'll still ask questions or something, or, sometimes if it's a bigger repair or something, or, 6 months after we bought the place, we did have a person drive into the side of the building.
Oh no, really?
So, yeah.
Completely like unrelated to your tenants, just like
no, they lived there, and
man,
like they were. There was a bunch of snow and ice that day in the parking lot, and they were like backing up.
When you say a bunch, you mean like a quarter of an inch?
So from where you are, it would be like a from compared to where you were in New York, this is like
I know
a dusting in late April.
Somebody dumped out like one water bottle and it froze like. Well,
I think I think we can agree. Like Southerners don't know what to do when driving on ice and snow,
I gotta say, as I said in your intro, I'm also a barbecue fan, and the South has that down. They traded better barbecue for I don't know how to drive in the snow, and that's okay. Yeah. And that's okay. We love everybody.
So we saw that here, and they put the car, took out the front door and part of the wall. So we had to, bring someone in, and we had to get luckily it could have been way worse than it was. Luckily nobody was hurt at all.
That is lucky.
So it wasn't like through the building. It was just, really good.
So you're a GC. Tap. So are you just like, I'll handle this, or I'll sub it out? Or do you let the management company get a bid and you double check it? Or are you like, how did that go?
Sure. We used the same, contractor that had done all the renovations. Nice. And actually we had got them from our property manager, and so he was a handyman but also general contractor. And
okay, so you really did just luck out with the personnel as well as just the timing on those apartment renovations.
Yeah, we ended up with a pretty good team. So but he was able to come in and make some temporary repairs, and get the door back into place where it would mostly work. And then, we get the material, and a week later we had everything, put back, redid the drywall, redid some of the siding on the outside.
Did you get like a check from your tenant's insurance company?
We did. Yeah. They ended up doing an insurance claim.
Cool. Okay. So at the end of the day, this sucks, but as far as things that suck, it was pretty fine.
Yeah.
Like in that realm of things that really suck, like you got the insurance money, no one got hurt, most importantly. Yeah. Small door repair, you had the team, that's pretty good.
And then it's kind of thing that just happens, and it's construction. And I've actually dealt with like numerous projects, apartments with cars driving into buildings. So
wow. Okay.
It's like,
well, I don't want to.
It happens more than you realize.
I don't want to be a partner with you anywhere where there's a lot of traffic, because we're gonna just if we buy an apartment building on 40, we'll just every 6 weeks there'll be another car.
Yep.
So you obviously have a tremendous amount of experiences that have nothing to do with each other, but then at the same time, very much synergize and commingle to make what you do, I don't want to say easy, but just like a very good thing for you to do. So what would, to somebody who, is hearing this and, is thinking about buying a home, or thinking about becoming a GC, or thinking about putting some investment money in a rental property, and they don't really know, they kind of just like, it can be a lot to bite off to chew. What would you say was like a good place to start?
Always, one thing I think that's helped me in all of these things is, find people smarter than you, and pay attention to what they do. And, and that, I've learned so much, from on the construction side, like, I mean, even going back to the beginning, with working with my dad, but even like on the construction site, you've got an engineer on site, need to look at something in the crawl space, get under there with them, like ask questions. You're working with your plumber's doing something like, hey, what are you doing right now? How do you do that? Ask questions, ask the experts, don't be afraid to bring in an expert if you don't know. And I've learned so much just by taking the time to ask questions. And, even as far as like on the, real estate investing side, just finding somebody who's been there, done that, and like, hey, can we grab lunch sometime. I'd love to talk, about what you're doing. So, finding people that have the experience or knowledge where maybe you're lacking, and not being afraid to, hire them or learn from them, or, just even talk to them. So
gotcha. So you gotta just like step up and be bold and make that, that move to get that connection. I realize as you were saying that when I was first starting out, I was taking that advice and not realizing that I was doing it, because the thing that scares me the most, even to this day, is electrical. I'm just not an electrical dude. Like, I'm a great carpenter. I can do some minor plumbing. I can set a toilet all day, and I can do an outlet, but like, just in general, electrical is like not my favorite thing to do. And every time my electrician was on site, I would just be like, oh yeah, can I bum a cigarette? What are you doing? Yeah. And I don't even really like to smoke, but I just like would try to bond with him and be like, so why is that wire a different color? Because I just would have like no idea. And I was like, until this dude tells me go away, like stop bothering me, I'm just going to try to ask him as many questions as I could. So
and I've never run into like a tradesman or person that maybe, but like, most people are glad to, talk about it. I mean, that's a good sign. If they're willing to talk about it and share, like, that's who you want to be working with anyways. Someone who's like, I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing. Like, but I find that's really rare. Like, most people,
I've run into it once, and it was a huge red flag, and I stopped working with that guy because it was a friend of a friend. It was a tile situation. Actually, you helped me in this house. It was the house where the floor was so crooked that we had to frame each stud one by one with a plate leveler.
Oh yeah. I remember that one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I still have it. It's still a successful rental. It really did. But I hired this guy, and I'm actually not going to shout him out because I want to only do positive shout outs. But the deal was like, I will pay you what you would get paid for doing the tile job, but I'm going to give you like an extra little bit of money because I know it'll take you longer to do it with me because I want to learn how to do tile. That was the deal.
Yeah.
And I helped him trim a little bit of the studs and hang the backer board, which for those who don't know is like, it's like hanging drywall, but it's made of concrete, and it's the first thing that goes on studs before you then mud and waterproof and hang your actual tile. And after that, he, like 4 days later, when we had like a plan to meet up the next day or the next step, he was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I just want like this much money to do the job. And the amount of money he wanted was like way more than even if you were doing the job without teaching me, let alone doing it teaching me. Like, it was just an astronomical amount of money. So he probably just had like something going on in his life and he really needed some money. And I was like, no, we're just good. We're just going to part ways. And I just like got a different tile guy. And I never really learned how to do it. I redid my bathrooms. I had to bring in a friend who knew more than me. And I was his cut man.
Yeah. And I think most professionals are happy to share what they're doing. Not necessarily going to like stop everything and give you a 3-hour class, but
no, for sure.
Like, most of your professionals, I mean, and if they're proud of their work and take pride in what they do, like, they're happy to share, like, hey, this is what I'm doing. And, of course they're doing it the right way. And they're happy to tell you what the right way is.
They love to show off their newest tool. And oh yeah, look at this new electrical stapler gun I got.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like why we got into this. I feel like just Home Depot was a toy store, and I was like, wait a minute, I could come here professionally? This is great. Yeah. Well, Justin, this was awesome. It's so great to catch up. We got to do it more often off air. Seriously, really, thanks for coming on. And, give me a shout if you're doing something crazy cool or exciting or even in this realm at all. And we'll do another episode together.
Sounds great. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Bye.